He pushes and he forces and he presses on to get his desired fantasy outcome. And just so you know, there will be spoilers in this video. Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. I just finished watching season 2 of Love is Blind. So in this video, I'm going to analyze every couple and look at the two people individually and look at their behaviors and the way that they acted on the show and maybe draw some conclusions about their coping mechanisms, about maybe some of the things that may have happened in their past, and give them some tips, as if they're going to be watching, of how they can heal and have really healthy relationships in the future. Let's start with couple 1, Shaina and Kyle. As a couple, Shaina and Kyle are not really worth mentioning because their romance ended pretty quickly. We knew from the beginning that Kyle and Shaina weren't going to go anywhere because, unlike Kyle, we were able to see Shaina's face and her body language in interacting with Kyle, and also her reaction when Kyle proposed. So I can't really talk about them as a couple because we saw so little of them together. It's not really worth talking about, but it's worth talking about each of them individually, and I'll start with Shaina. Something that I noticed about Shaina, besides the fact that she's just gorgeous, one thing I noticed about Shaina is that she seems to hide her vulnerability kind of behind flirtations and behind a kind of playfulness and also very surface level interactions.
I love how you say my name.
And this might be because it's what she's familiar with. She went into the show because people judge her on her looks. This is probably the way most of her interactions in her life has been. I would assume that a lot of men in her life have been very straightforward, very pushy, and this is just how she is able to kind of navigate those situations, staying very surface level. It's a very safe, familiar territory to her. The flirtatiousness, the kind of airiness, and don't go too deep, because that most likely means you're going to get hurt. And it's my opinion that this kind of hiding behind surface level stuff, in her case, she was brought up with, I think, 3 brothers. So kind of watching the scene where Kyle was meeting the family and seeing the brothers and the dad kind of sitting around, there was a very kind of standoffish vibe.
Tell me something real. Why do you want to get married to my sister?
When she expressed herself as a little girl, I could see how the dominating brothers would have called her maybe a sissy, or would have taught her that it wasn't safe to express yourself, because if you express yourself, you're going to be made fun of, and that's going to hurt. That's not going to feel good. So perhaps Shaina learned to stay surface level where it's safe, and she probably needs to feel comfortable and needs a long time to really become vulnerable and open up.
I just wanted you to know that I do have deep feelings for you.
Another thing I noticed about Shaina is in that instant where Kyle was proposing, she knew that this was not the one for her and this was not right. She kind of sat up kind of stiff, she was very stiff and kind of closed off and very... I could see a freeze response in her, kind of oh my God. So she goes into this freeze response. She knows, she can sense that she doesn't want to go through with it. We can all tell because we can see her face, we can see her body language. Yet she says yes.
Yes.
And how many times have you been in a situation where the answer is no, you know this, yet you say yes? And why is that? It's to please somebody else. And this is the next thing about Shaina. I believe Shaina relies on other people to make decisions for her. Throughout her interactions with Kyle, we saw multiple times where, when it was about the religion part, she would ask Kyle things like, well, do you think this could actually work?
Our core values.
Yeah.
Does that scare you?
How do you think this is gonna work? You tell me how it's going to work, even though I already know the answer that it's not, that this is a complete deal breaker for me. But I don't want to be the one that makes the decision to call it off, even though my gut knows that I need to call it off. I want you to make this decision for me. I want you to do this hard thing because I can't. And in my opinion, it's again, Shaina grew up with a bunch of older brothers. They most likely made the decisions for her. Her voice was most likely not entirely recognized.
Oh, I'm
Especially
like huge
with the
into
people
it.
you care about the most, like they just expect like people like because of my personality, they assume I just get compliments 24/7, and it couldn't be farther from the opposite whatsoever.
Isn't that insane?
It
I feel
is.
Like, no,
but I
agree with
believe
you.
it though too. It's like people don't give.
So growing up, she learned to depend on others for her decision making. Luckily, again, with time, Shaina did end up ending it with Kyle, and just by the release of emotion, it was really hard for her. And it's my opinion that Shaina is not someone that wants to hurt other people's feelings. So again, Shaina took a long time to make this decision that she already knew at the beginning. So Shaina is someone that, in my opinion, is very reflective, has to process things, takes a long time, and needs to feel safe before making these decisions.
I'm sorry.
For Shaina to heal and improve her relationships in the future, I would recommend that she continue to build on her awareness. She already seems pretty aware to me. She is comfortable releasing emotions and working through them. So the thing that I would recommend is she strengthen that relationship to her intuition. And she could do that very well through any kind of somatic work. So like using the body, incorporating the body to really strengthen that connection with your body. That could be done through therapy, like movement therapy, could be done through dance. And another thing that Shaina could do is celebrate her little wins. So maybe this time it took however long to call something off that she knew she shouldn't have gotten in the first place. Maybe next time it's a little bit less and then a little bit less. And just celebrating the quicker listening to the intuition, like the little things. Now let's talk about Kyle. Kyle. You missed all the signs, Kyle. A few things I noticed about Kyle. He is insecure about who he is, about his education, and not being very smart.
I'm a construction worker. I'm kind of rough around the edges.
I noticed that when he was with Shaina, he repeatedly said, I shouldn't have this woman, but I have her, so now I must hang on to her.
Imagine you're standing next to like a supermodel. You're gonna feel like a piece of shit.
Yet Kyle is such a charismatic, good-looking man that really could get a similar woman that is beautiful just like him inside and out. One thing I noticed about Kyle is he consistently misses signals and cues. And for men, it's probably a little bit more challenging. They don't have that connection like women to their gut feeling and to this inner knowing. And Kyle had a wall between him and Shaina. So he wasn't able to see her physical responses. However, I would bet that he also knew that there was hesitancy on Shaina's part, yet he pushed on. So it's one thing I noticed about Kyle is he pushes and he forces and he presses on to get his desired like fantasy outcome.
I'm confident that we will get married.
Even when all the signs are telling him this is not flowing, this is not natural. There is not that reciprocation. And this may have been an edited part, but the scene where Shaina and Kyle talk and he says, let's move in together, that was either like really heavily edited from something totally unrelated, or I have to say like, Kyle, like what?
I think we should move in together.
Why would you, after everything, after her hesitancy, after she's literally like this, and you're like, when do we move in together? Come to me, come. So there's a bit of desperation in Kyle to make something happen that is obvious is not going to happen, but clinging on to that hope and that fantasy. Kyle also tends to smile through discomfort.
fact that she's not here makes me so upset.
So I believe this smiling through discomfort is probably a coping mechanism he learned as a kid to be able to deal with some really uncomfortable situations. Personally, I have the same coping mechanism when things get really uncomfortable. I smile. Sometimes I even start laughing. And I used to do that with my parents who would get mad at me. And I do it with my partner today who understands and he doesn't get upset by it. But I still notice I go to anything to get through this awkward, awful moment.
Looking back, she seemed very hesitant.
In terms of healing for Kyle, he needs to know how forcing and trying and wanting and desperation feels in his body compared to flowing and knowing and loving and all that stuff. So he needs to know what that feels like in his body so he will be able to identify the red flags way sooner. It seems like Kyle is already aware of kind of the mistakes that he made and is choosing to go with the flow, and what he said was always in front of me.
I should have tried harder for you. I mean, I love her so much. She's the best.
Because Kyle and Deepti have been sighted together, and hopefully that works out for them. They seem to be much better matched, just two very genuine people, very kind people that I think would have a better go than Kyle and Shaina. Thank you so much for watching my video today. Like I said, it's my very first YouTube video, so I'm super excited and pumped to be posting this. If you liked my video, please hit the thumbs up button right there. I've always wanted to do this. And subscribe to my channel. And leave me a comment. What did you think about Kyle and Shaina? Do you have anything to add? What vibe did you get from them? And what do you think about Kyle and Deepti? Let me know in the comments below, and stay tuned for the next video where I cover Natalie and Shane. Take care. Bye.